I am so honored to be able to talk to you on the topic of community building with materials that are stronger than brick and mortar. As Dean Moffitt said, I have been privileged over the course of my short career to be able to have been a part of some of the largest redevelopment projects in the United States. And over the past 10 years, to have overseen $10 billion in redevelopment projects associated with community benefits agreements as a part of those agreements, as a part of those deals. And as I think back on how I became a part of the construction industry, I really came to some real realization of a really poignant fact. And that's that all of us are a part of the construction business, whether you want to be or not. Many of you may say, I don't think I wear a hard hat to school, to work every day, and I certainly don't wear any construction boots. But I dare say that all of us are engaged in the community building enterprise. And you actually are engaged in that work every single waking hour of the day, whether you want to be or not. And so I think that as the master architects of your own construction enterprise, it's really important to me to think about what sort of materials would you utilize and should you be utilizing as a part of your construction enterprise. And I'll tell you about why I chose the materials that I chose when I was doing community building and continue to do community building today. In the literal construction context, my work on construction projects has taught me that all construction materials are not equal. In fact, there are superior materials that build with, and we see them all around us. If you look in this building, there's brick everywhere, really because brick is a really important material. It has certain characteristics that allow for individuals to know that they can rely upon brick and mortar to really be undergird the foundation that they set when they talk about building a physical building. The 4 reasons are simple. Brick and mortar is energy efficient. It holds well. It's an insulated product. It is able to hold heat. It also is able to hold in coolness. It is able to really be a great conductor in that manner, and you are able to save money on really the heat and the air that you might utilize in that building. It's also durable. Brick and mortar buildings that we see for centuries, they stand the test of time. They're able to withstand both the physical elements and even those who might want to demolish or take them out. Bricks are sustainable. They are renewable. You can take bricks from one project and put them onto another project. There are companies across the world that take bricks from Baltimore and move them to Florida to be utilized in other construction projects. And bricks are non-flammable. They can't light up very easily. They're not like wood that is easily combustible. It's very hard to burn brick. And so in the same way, in the community building context, I was able, over the course of my career as in economic development, understand how important it is to build in the community building context with materials that in many ways mimic the qualities of brick, that are durable, energy efficient, are able to withstand the test of time, and are able to last much longer than the individuals who are involved in them. So I'm going to talk to you on how. This is the time you might want to take out those notepads and take some lessons down. It's simple 5 principles that I rely upon in my community building context. My first principle is consistency is key. In the community building context, it is very natural to want to make contact and want to build relationships when you need them, when the time is for you to be able to call on that individual, call on those community partners. We have a project that we really need to bring you in on. But the time to build those relationships isn't when you need them. It's well in advance. And it's about being consistent. In the context of being able to negotiate the largest community benefits agreement in the history of Baltimore, the relationships that allowed for me to be able to negotiate that agreement were forged decades before I ever sat at the negotiating table. It was that my trust was built from my words matching my actions over a series of several years. And so when I went into the negotiating table, I didn't have to forge the relationships or build the trust that ordinarily you would have to build. It's because people knew that my community building was consistent with the words that I was speaking at that table, consistent with the actions that I had already demonstrated well before that. And the second was that I was really good at being able to think about building across generations. You know, it is really attractive to go to the young ones. They're so cute. Who wouldn't be attracted to go and they're vibrant? They have such great energy. But it's also important to be able to connect with the elders in the community and to think about how do they contribute. They're cute as well. And everyone in between. Really not being discriminating about thinking about where does the power come from or where does influence come from, because it can come from anywhere. And the reality is that everyone is connected, whether you can see those lines or not, and they talk to one another. And going back to the consistency is key. If you connect across generations, you actually engage in what I call the multiplier effect of impact, where your community connections with one generation are literally passed down to other generations because of your deep and your authentic relationships. The next is to associate with those who deliver. In the community building context, let me tell you, everyone is a community organizer and everyone is an influencer, but there are a few people who deliver on that. And so as you think about how do you build across within community, it's important to not be attracted to those who are self-anointed leaders, those who people tell you that's the person you must get to know because they're the person that has the phone number of the politician or the influencer. It's the people who can deliver on what they say. It's the people who are able to then take the words that they say at the table and actually deliver results. Be attracted to those people and align yourself with those people, and I promise you'll be able to build the community. The fourth principle, really one that I'm going to stay in for a second, is that a single transaction does not equate to a relationship. As we think about the first point that I talked about, consistency is key. This also goes into the single transaction not being a relationship. As you think about community building, you can engage in a number of seemingly unassociated transactions with people. But the reality is you have to see the line between how do I dig deep and understand what motivates people, what's inspiring them, what's keeping them at the table that is beyond the dollars and cents, beyond their job title. And that takes digging deep in the relationship. When I negotiated the largest TIF in United States history, I spent a great deal of time, as you probably can imagine, eating with the individuals in the community, going to their community events, meeting with them in their homes, and not talking about the topic that was of most interest to me, but actually engaging with them about the topic that was most interest to them. It was their families, it was their children, it was their hopes and dreams. It was the things that kept them up at night. And we spent more time talking about those things because what I knew is that the transaction that we were engaging in would come and go. There would come a point when we would all sign on the dotted line. And for you all, as you engage in community building, and there are many times when you get to sign on the dotted line. But that's not where the work ends. It's actually where the work begins. And so as we think about how we are able to have an impact that goes far beyond the actual single transaction, it's only going to occur if you have a relationship. And so while there are many things that may pull on your time, many things that may pull on your interests, I will tell you the time you dedicate to going deep in relationship will pay huge dividends and will allow for you to actually have the community building that you so desire. And principle 5 is to give before you receive. In many contexts, it is very easy to be a taker. I often say, in a world full of takers, the givers always win. When you think about community building, there are many instances when you are in a position of authority or power to really be able to exert that power to take. It is in those instances where you have to think about, how can I give before I ever will need to receive? And that means that you have to really know the individuals that you're meeting with. You have to dig deep. That's why you have to be able to engage in a really deep connection with them to figure out what keeps them up at night. What is it that's motivating their heart? What is it that you can do to fulfill their dreams? And as you do that, you will be fulfilling your own dreams as you think about how you are being a part of their community. I know I said that brick and mortar, there are principles that are stronger than brick and mortar. And I dare say if you follow the 5 principles that I talked about today, you will not only negotiate the largest community benefits agreements in the city of Baltimore or the largest tax increment financing deals, you'll be building a community that all of us can be proud of and that you can ultimately be able to come back to with confidence that will support you in all of your endeavors. Thank you.